Why is Hex better than Bitcoin? Well, first of all, it's the fundamentals of the code. The fundamentals of the code are better than Bitcoin's fundamentals. The inflation model is better than Bitcoin's inflation model. The staking feature is better than a mining feature. It's new tech versus old tech. It's decentralized versus centralized. Yes, all of those things. One more time. Well, ahoy, crypto pirates, Hexicans, misfits. How are you doing this Memorial Day afternoon out here in the States? Had a nice relaxing weekend. Last day of the long 3-day weekend. Stayed out of the traffic, stayed out of the mess. Just stayed home and worked. Been working all weekend. Getting ready for Europe. If you haven't heard, we're going to be taking the PulseChain tour to Europe. The half of the team, well, most of the team is the important part of the team is heading over there now. I'm not supposed to say where. I already did and got in trouble for that. But anyway, they're all headed over there and they're going to get the party kicked off and traveling through Europe. Go to PulseChainTour.com. You'll see all the locations wherever it's going to be. They're getting ready to hit Amsterdam here in the next couple of weeks. Then we'll be going on the cruise, and that'll be in Venice, going to Greece. I think all that's sold out. But after that, it will be Portugal, back to Germany, and then London for the finale, the big party. We are not seeing a lot of people buying tickets in London. Not sure what you guys are doing there in London, but that's going to be the party. That's going to be where everybody is. We've actually got a sponsor that's sponsoring the whole party, and we do too. I love chipping in for the debauchery. But anyway, if you're in the London area, you're in Europe, you want to get to London, that's going to be the big party at the end of the tour. Then we're back to the States, but that's going to be the fun one. So get your tickets on PulseChain Tour and come hang out with us in London. It's going to be fun. I love London. I am not a rainy, cold weather person at all. Zero. Like, I like tropical. I like sand toes. I like palm trees. I like crystal clear water, heat. I like that stuff. But for some unknown reason, I really like London. And I don't know if it's just how old it is and how still modern and new and everything has been made. I don't know. I just really like London, and the people there are very cool too. The people in London are cool, and all around that area. you guys crack me up, man. At the 731 Pulse or Hex birthday party we had, freaking everybody from all around there was just phenomenal. I love partying with you guys. So I hope to see a bunch of you there, because that's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time again, just like we did at the 731. All right. So today I want to preface this one today. So we're getting in a little deeper on protocols and things that Hexicans and people coming to PulseChain are building. And again, I want to preface this with this message. I'm allowing people to come on here and talk about these things because they are building protocols on PulseChain. And my tour is to go out and talk about PulseChain and, bring adoption to it, bring people to it, not just to use Hex, which is, my preferred crypto of choice. The only crypto that I really tell people that it is the one that I deem as the best crypto asset on the planet. But I want to bring the other protocols and the people doing the hard work to the table so that I can talk to them and we can decipher. So none of this is supposed to be financial advice, and none of this is in any way me shilling anything. We're trying to get to know who the people are. We're trying to extend a little trust out to everybody. And we're trying to see what kind of really bitchin' cool stuff they're making for the users. Because these protocols have existed on Ethereum. There's not much new under the sun here. There's nuances. What's really cool about crypto is I teach a lot of people about crypto when I onboard them. And a lot of them are my age, older, right around. And you know my saying, there's nothing new under the sun. Well, in finance, there isn't. But crypto takes all the market externalities and products that are out there and combines them in a way that make them efficient, make them easier to utilize, bring in positive externalities so that users can come out ahead much better than in the traditional finance world. Because we all know that the traditional finance world, if you are not in the in crowd, they're not teaching you about it. If you are not in the people that are buying and selling massive amounts of stocks and creating all of these financial organizations, you are not going to get taught by BlackRock how to invest like they do. But here in crypto, we all get to learn how to use these tools, and we're really ratioing the shit out of TradFi. We are, because we're taking tools that they don't have at their disposal, that they've had to take centuries to produce behind the scenes, laws they had to create, market sentiment and things that they had to create in order to get ahead of the game of all of us. And all we had was our little 401ks to try and be part of the market. And that was a scam. Basically, they wanted to get all of our pension money and stick it in the stock market for them so that they can manipulate it and destroy us and take our money even further. Pension plans were secure. They were backed. They were dollar value. And they made us all go into the market. And the market was like, yeah, baby, fresh meat. And that's what happened with that out there. But now we have a way to game the system ourselves by understanding and learning the tools that are available to us and getting involved and watching the projects and people that are behind making crypto investing better, more efficient, and more powerful for the individual user than TradFi has to offer for us. So it's exciting times. DeFi is here. PulseChain has made it possible. And the protocols and the smart people that have figured these things out have attempted to make it, have become successful. But now here we can be efficient and successful on PulseChain. And that's what this gentleman and his team are doing. So I'm going to bring up my friend, my acquaintance, somebody I've known in the community for a while. He's come on our show many times, and he's been building and working behind the scenes. But I'm going to bring him up to explain his protocol. Now, remember, these protocols were way back in ancient history, come from a system called Convex. It was made in 2021. And I don't talk about a lot of liquidity providing and exchange stuff, only because we haven't had any need to. But now that these things are functioning, working, and there's tools available to us, Hexkins and people here in the Pulse community need to know what the value is of these things, who's behind them, and why they're here. They're not just some crazy, Ponzi scheme games. These are tools that you have available to you to utilize and research and look at and see if this is something for you and see if there is anything that you see that has holes in it. So I think all eyes should be on it. And now, without any further yapping from me, I'm going to bring on the expert. Pirates, here we go. Fast Abdul. What's happening, buddy?
Hey, Captain. Thanks for having me, man. Good to see you.
Oh, man. Good to see you. Oh, hey, thanks for the what is this? What is that? 200.
Maybe some Vietnamese dong.
Some dong. We got some dong, ladies and gentlemen. 200,000. Thank you.
Happy to share.
All right. So let's before we get into the protocols and their existence and what they mean and what they can mean to the community, let's talk a little bit first about your history in the community, how you came to it, what was your experience, because you're bringing something to community. So obviously here we've got two choices. You're either here because we got something you want, or we're here because or you're here because you've been a part of and you saw a gap. So give me a little bit about why you're involved in the community.
I think both of those statements are true, honestly. I think this is the place to build because the community is here. I'm building here because I'm part of the community. So, I'm happy to say that both those statements are definitely true. I'm not like a day one Hexagon. Like I came in for the PulseChain sacrifice, and it's been a big learning journey since then. I was participating in crypto prior to then, but I definitely wasn't. Didn't really have RH on the radar. It was more mainstream stuff. But Yellow Cake, my partner and Yoda, effectively, he was, he's like day one Hexagon. Knew all the Richard Hart stuff by heart. He sort of introduced me to the PulseChain, to all the RH tokens, and that's where my journey began. So since then, I think a lot of community members, in general would know me from Telegram because I'm an admin in a lot of Telegram rooms. And I'm, sort of like my hobby is to hunt the scammers that are trying to steal everybody's money. I got a lot of fake accounts. So I used to do that and things like that. So you scammers out there, watch out for Fast Abdul. I got your number, man. But very happy to be part of the community and to finally be building on PulseChain. And when I say finally, I mean we're planning on releasing our protocol to the public tomorrow. So perfect timing.
Yeah. Tomorrow release.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, then, so your protocol, we're going to talk about and get into it. Explain. You saw PulseChain launch and PulseX come out, and with very limited, it was a DEX. It was bare bones, bare minimum DEX. A good one, built on a solid foundation here, but no bells and whistles. You guys appear to be tapping into the bells and whistles from Ethereum, which was, Balancer was the main protocol, and then, Aura Finance was the main protocol, right? And then Balancer was built on top of it, or no?
The other way around, actually.
The other way around. Yeah,
Balancer, and then Aura built on top of that.
Which is what 2Fxck is.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Good.
So with that in mind,
you saw that. So tell us, what was the gap you saw, or what did you want to fulfill that wasn't being fulfilled? And just explain that to everybody so that we can get a kind of a basis to work on.
Sure, you bet. So let's start with like PulseX. PulseX is really important. It's a relatively simple DEX compared to what we're going to talk about, but it's sort of the base, and the chain needs that no matter what. I don't think what we're doing is never going to make that go away. It's just going to enhance it by providing a different option for different players, right? So PulseX provides like standard pools with 50-50 liquidity, meaning it's half of one token and half of the other in the pool at a 50% ratio. It's something that most protocols should have at least one pool that's 50-50 for their tokens, because it provides a good simple, thick liquidity option that people can understand, right? And then it has the liquidity farming as well, right? They have the farms on PulseX, which are, the same sort of thing as what we're going to talk about, just a little simpler version, but we can definitely take a look at those to make sure we're actually comparing apples to apples, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when we look at the next thing, which is the Fxck exchange, right? Now, that's a fork of Balancer V2. So that's pretty, in my opinion, that's sort of the most advanced form of DEX that there is right now. You can pair up to 8 tokens together. So instead of a liquidity pair that has 2 tokens at a 50-50 ratio, you have a liquidity pair that, the word pair maybe doesn't work anymore, but you can have up to 8 tokens, and they can have any ratio. So they can be from 1% to 99% of that pool can be any specific token. So there's a lot of game theory and a lot of different ways you can make that work. Not all the ways you could set that up would be good. There's sort of general functional things like those tokens need to be things that are traded. They need to flow. It works excellent with stable coins in particular. It's kind of going to be the future home of probably most of the stable coins on the chain, just because you can pair 8 stable coins together in equal ratios, and they can move between each other, hold each other's pegs up. It's quite functional for that at a lower fee than you'd be able to achieve otherwise. So, that's kind of a big deal long term for the chain, because you need a place like that, because that's where the guys from Ethereum are going to come in, 3 months, 6 months from now with a lot of money. They're going to look for that because that's a big part of what big money guys do is move around stable coins, right? So it has that. But then on top of that, it also provides the opportunity for any sort of token to build interesting novel pairs with up to 8 tokens. And that can be super functional when you start to talk about things that are related to each other, meaning that they'll go up and down at the same rate, right? So if you have tokens that are all, have something to do with each other in one way or another, either they're all RH tokens or something like that, where they're likely going to experience gains and losses at a similar rate. You can
can I stop you and ask you a question in the middle of this? I don't mean to interrupt, but
yeah, no problem.
I was just thinking about this. Does this give a kind of a shortcut to order routing by taking these tokens and mixing them together in one LP position instead of having to order route through different means, tokens, whatever? Does this kind of help to stabilize that?
It definitely does, and it you can see it in how the DEX aggregators, like the Omnis from Tetra and the Piteous DEX aggregators, they often will route through the Fxck exchange, and the reason for that is because it's often the first choice when you have up to 8 tokens paired together, and you're trying to move from one, like let's say you're trying to move from Hex to Ink, and there's a combo pair that has Hex and Ink in it, as well as Pulse and as well as PulseX and maybe something else. And with the novel pairs, it's even more likely, of course, like if you're trying to move from Icosa to Ink, like there could be that as part of an extended pair that you're not going to find somewhere else. So it definitely provides a more immediate route for a lot of trades. Everybody's using those DEX aggregators nowadays, but like pretty much anybody who has bought and sold a coin with those aggregators has dealt with the Fxck exchange, whether they knew it or not. It's a very big part of the liquidity on PulseChain. Right now, it's number 3 for total liquidity. It was until very recently number 2. I believe 9inch has that spot for the moment, and I think that might shift again, so that Fxck may again be number 2 or possibly even number 1 at some point in the future, just depending on what goes on with PulseX.
Nice. So in the development of or as this exchange that allows you to make multiple token pairs starts to take hold, builds more liquidity. And we all know Hart's law, coins put together, kind of rising tide raises all ships. Is this another facet of helping to connect all of the tokens in the ecosystem to rising together?
Definitely. And you can see that in specific pairs as well as just in any coin that, sort of touches them. So you can have something that is not naturally paired, but because there is that connection within an extended pair with, multiple tokens, that it will get pulled up together. So, but it does, in my opinion, it does work best if those things have something to do with each other from a user point of view, because we can really minimize impermanent loss, right? Impermanent loss being when one token goes up faster than another. And so you end up with more of the lower value token and less of the higher value token. And so the Fxck exchange is great for that in particular. And obviously there's the stable thing. But when you look at tokens like Pulse, that is a part of probably more than half of the pairs on the Fxck exchange, then you're going to have that effect multiplied, because you could have a pool where there's, let's say, 20% Pulse being a reasonable ratio, and then you could have 6 or 7 other tokens in there that are all going to get pulled up by Pulse when Pulse goes 10x, 100x, 1000x. So yeah, it's definitely going to increase the ratio of how Hart's law affects the chain and extend it to a whole batch of tokens there.
And you've spread impermanent loss risk amongst a litany of coins versus one or the, like a 50-50 chance of having some type of impermanent loss. Now you've weighed yourself out a little bit, or hedged yourself out a little bit.
Definitely, yeah. And when you look at things, some of the pairs, like the ratios can be different too, right? Like each coin, unlike with Uniswap V2, where it's like the ratio is the same. It's 50 of this and 50 of that. Like you can have 20% of one token, 10% of another, 5% of another, et cetera, and that affects the impermanent loss risk on those tokens. So like a common thing that we'll see on there is we'll have 80% of the main token, we'll say like a community token, and then 20% pulse to make it be liquid. So it's actually applicable. Now, when you have that big 80% bit versus pulse, what's going to happen is that if the price of pulse goes up and it's only 20% of that pool, it's not going to pull that token up as much as if it was 50% of the pool with like a normal pair. But if the price of the other token goes up more than pulse, right, it's not going to get held down by the pulse as much. And it will, of course, pull pulse up with it more. So, depending on what people are expecting, they can make a pool that targets that activity and that behavior. And you can reward people for certain things by weighing the pool differently, 80% towards one token, 80% towards another, or anywhere in between. And of course, when we add 5 or 6 other tokens, it can get quite complicated, but the same principle applies. So,
but you're adjusting your leverage within the liquidity pools is what you're doing so that you can
pretty much
gauge your own situation for those people who are smarter, understand their bags and want to weigh out or mitigate some losses. And I got you. Or make more risk, add more risk.
It could be leveraged more on one token than another. Like a 50-50 pool with pulse in a lot of ways is safer than an 80-20 pool where the 80 is a meme coin that, maybe is a less certain future, right? But maybe more exponentially higher numbers potentially, right? It's all in the hands of the user and they get to choose. But I think the big thing is that, when they make those choices, they should be informed about what they're doing. It sounds complicated, but it's really not that heavy. So this is the high end of liquidity providing, but there's sort of a place for everybody, I believe, because there are sort of pools with the tokens that we all understand and where that they're going to move up and down together, right? So we have some interesting pools that are different kinds of hex paired together with the Maximus DAO tokens and stuff like that. We're gonna have minimal impermanent loss, and you're gonna get the bull market in full effect. So I like the idea of those sorts of things can really help the community in the long run, in my opinion. And you end up getting a liquidity pool that is bigger than you'd be able to have otherwise, especially with something like a community token to participate in, let's say on one of the PulseChain farms. You obviously have to have 50% of one token and 50% of another. So it means you have to put up both sides, 50% of each. So you have to pull a lot of pulse out of your bag or a lot of hex out of your bag. If you have an 80-20 pool, you put up 80% of the main token. And if the 20% is pulse, you only have to have a relatively little amount of pulse in your wallet to be able to participate with that pool. So for some communities, it sort of lowers the bar for who can participate with liquidity farming to get the bonus tokens that are going to be up.
Yeah, that's the solutions you're coming up with is giving everybody a chance to participate. We'll get into that. Now I lost my train of thought. What I was going to ask you, darn it. No, keep going. It'll hit me again.
Okay. So we've started with the Fxck, right? So that's the fork of balancer for the PulseChain where you can have these 8 tokens. Now, that's not our protocol. And I want to make it clear that's a separate protocol built by a separate team. So the PH team, Buck and Dylan and 3 Airs, like they're in charge. They did Fiat, Famous, and the Fxck. So they did 3 big forks of big Ethereum protocols. So, by the way, let me add on to that and get your answer to this is I wanted everybody to know that the Fxck is a decentralized exchange, and these liquidity pools are not you putting anything onto a centralized exchange. This is all contract interaction that has been audited and has thus far been a good actor within the PulseChain community. And I want everybody to know that's the history. That's how it's built, and that's what it provides is an access to a smart contract, decentralized exchange that has a very robust way to provide liquidity that is going to take some learning and some understanding before you utilize it. But that's what it is. It is a smart contract developed by people within the community that have been functioning now for a while. So just to let everybody know, that's what the 2Fxck protocol is. We're coming up on almost a year for Fxck now since they've been running. So they were one of the first additional dexes to run on the PulseChain. Certainly one of the biggest ones to come on board. So that's great. And those guys are here for business. We wouldn't have chosen to build on top of the Fxck exchange unless we were confident that they were here for the long run. So it's not a single cycle project like, 10 years down the road, we're still going to be talking about Fxck and 2Fxck as major tools on the PulseChain. And that's really what they are in a lot of ways. And so when we look at 2Fxck, it's a tool built on top of the Fxck exchange to give people better yield and better voting power. So I'll get to the voting power in a second because that's important. It's actually, in my opinion, will be worth more than the yield. But the yield is a big deal. And we can see, big difference in pools on Fxck compared to some other dexes. But the main thing will be the difference between yield farming with just Fxck or yield farming with Fxck plus 2Fxck. And it really is a plus scenario. So we sort of provide a separate front end for the Fxck exchange. You're still interacting with the Fxck exchange directly. So this is a protocol that's been around, like you said, for a year, very trusted. We're built on top of it with something that gives you an alternate front end that will give you additional yield. And the mechanism is both complicated and simple. And it kind of goes back to what you said before, there's nothing new under the sun. I like to say, everything old is new again, because really it's, a simple concept. We could even go back to caveman times and say that one caveman borrowed another caveman's fire starting tools because he had the best tools, and another guy had the best spear making tools, and they shared their tools so that they could each get the best results, right? And make the best fires and make the best spears. This is the same sort of concept in that we have a tool to give people additional yield. And that tool is based on the workings of the Fxck exchange, which works the same as Balancer does on Ethereum, much like Curve Finance, another one on Ethereum. These are all connected. They're all kind of forks of each other. The way it's built is in order to get a yield boost on the Fxck exchange, which is up to 2.5 times as much yield as you get without the boost, you need to have a whole bunch of Fxck tokens, which is the token for the main token, the only token for the exchange. You need to have a whole bunch, and you need to have them locked for 1 year for maximum effect. So you've locked up this financial energy in Fxck tokens, and that's if you had enough relative to the amount of LP that you wanted to farm, you'd be able to get potentially a 2.5 times boost on your yield, which is a lot, right? So
let me jump in real quick right there. And so basically what you're explaining to me is a whale tool. People who can come in and provide a lot of liquidity or bring a lot of these 2Fxck tokens to the liquidity pools to get voting power. Also, so the whales are able to control that because they have the value to put in, and this isn't really available to the small user, the regular hexagon that's trying to make a little yield here and there, trying to utilize their tokens to get the best they can, but they aren't privy to the 2.5 because they have smaller bags.
Everybody can use it. It's there. And it's certainly everybody's going to get some yield with just the Fxck exchange, but to get that potential 2.5 times bonus, it's unlikely that most people would be able to get it by themselves. Mm-hmm. So and if they did, you're locking up financial energy because you have to lock your Fxck tokens for 1 year for maximum effect. Like you can't, they're staked and you can't unstake them, which, as hexagons, we have
lots of value and low options.
Yeah. So that's, that is the trade-off there to get that boosted yield. And certainly, some whales dominate that system currently. And that's, that's part of the game. And that on Balancer on Ethereum, that was a thing too. They had what they called the Balancer wars where, certain whales were vying for control of the Balancer exchange. And that ended up resulting in what was called Aura Finance, which was the final protocol that we forked that basically won the Balancer wars. And we've taken a preemptive strike on the PulseChain with 2Fxck. So what we provide to the little guys and the big guys is if you want to get that 2.5 times boosted yield, we have a lot, and I mean a lot of Fxck that's permanently locked in our protocol and permanently staked for 1 year and renewed every day to be a 1 year stake. And it can never leave the protocol. It can never be sold as Fxck again. It's a one-way trip. So, and when you come and you use the 2Fxck front end, it's like our giant wallet with, I'll say a rough number of $1 million worth of Fxck locked in it forever. It's like that was your wallet, and you'll get a boost based on that being your $1 million worth of Fxck locked in your wallet, even though you never have to have any Fxck locked in your wallet, and you never have to, you never have to go and buy any. And it's just, going to be there for you to use to get that boost. And you don't have to have participated with our protocol in any way whatsoever before that point. You don't have to have been involved in our sacrifice or our pre-mint or any of the things that we've been talking about in order to get that boost. That's just there for everybody who wants to use our front end rather than the Fxck front end to stake their LP tokens on the Fxck exchange. So that's, a community service in a lot of ways, but it kind of makes it even playing field where everybody can stake their LP. You can yield farm like a whale, basically, right off the bat, day one, bang, there it is.
Yeah, you're getting the whale bonus with your size bag, whatever it may be.
Yep, that's the idea. And then on top of that, you're getting extra tokens too. You're going to get, like on the Fxck exchange, you're just getting Fxck tokens, which is fine. And on 2Fxck, you will also get Fxck tokens, except for more than you likely would have been able to get by yourself. But on top of that, you're going to get the 2Fxck tokens, which we have a really good plan to make those be extremely valuable. So I think that'll actually be the majority of the APR, even though you're getting boosted volume by up to 2.5 times more Fxck tokens. I think the 2Fxck tokens people will receive on top by using our front end may be worth even more of the total percentage of APR that they receive every single day. And they're going to be claiming all the time. Like, this isn't a once a month thing. Like, every day you can be taking some yield off this. This is a substantial thing.
So it's right. So just like in any LP, you could just pull the yield, the fees off or whatever. And
that's right. Without pulling the LP out, right? So like your liquidity, right? So you participate in a liquidity pair and you get a liquidity token. So it's an actual token. And then that token, which you'd make on the Fxck exchange, right? You can make it with the 2Fxck front end as well, but we'll just say we'll make it on the Fxck exchange because that all the utility is there. And then instead of staking it there, which they have an option for all the gauge tokens, which means the ones that are incentivized, you just stake that same token via the 2Fxck front end. And a matter of fact, if you're already participating in liquidity via the Fxck exchange, it's a 2-button process. Press unstake, come to our front end, press stake. That's it. And you're now participating, and you've now likely increased your yield in Fxck tokens, and you're now receiving the 2Fxck token as well as part of your yield for staking that LP token. And like the great thing about the yield farming concept, and I think it's a nuanced thing, and people have to understand that it's not always good. But the really good thing, in my opinion, is you're not taking yield in the token that you came in with, right? You're getting yield in different tokens. So if you choose to sell those tokens or reinvest those tokens, whatever you do, you still have your original bag as far as the LP tokens that you came in with in the first place. So that's, a big thing to me.
So the LP token is locked in the pool forever. It's locked.
No, sir, it's not locked. Yeah. It's you can stake it and unstake it at any time. Completely liquid.
Okay. Now, what is actually going into the pool that stays locked?
The only thing that's locked in our protocol is the Fxck tokens that the protocol owns. They get converted into what we call prime 2Fxck, which is sort of like a receipt token for those Fxck tokens that are locked in the protocol, and people can get that receipt token and use it to get yield. And it's not locked at all. They can stake it,
so
unstake it.
That's separate from, so staking, obviously, okay. Staking is separate from the LP farm, from bringing the LP token over. You're talking about staking Fxck tokens, which is what yields you the prime 2Fxck token.
The prime 2Fxck token yields you, is a yield token inside our ecosystem. But when I talk about LP tokens, I just mean for any LP pair. So it could be like a pair that has like the Maximus DAO tokens, like 5 or 6 or 7 of them all in one pair. And that's an LP token that represents that LP. You can stake that LP token to get the bonus yield. You can do it with a Fxck front end or with the 2Fxck front end. 2Fxck giving you potentially more yield, but you can unstake it at any time. You're not locked in, right?
Gotcha.
And you can also unravel it into the pieces, right? So you could go in with 8 tokens in one LP pair, stake that to get the yield. And if you want, you can unstake it. Then you can unravel it into the initial 8 tokens. And they're just, again, loose tokens in your wallet like they were before. You're never locked with any of these LP tokens in any way. The only things in our ecosystem that are locked at all. Now, like I said, there's the Fxck that gets permanently locked in the ecosystem, but that's not really the users. That's just a benefit to the user. We've done it so you don't have to, is basically it.
Gotcha. So the 2.5 bonus pool already exists. You just participate in it.
That's
You're
right.
not adding to it.
No.
You're just benefiting from it existing.
Yeah, we have this giant pool that we've
Gotcha.
locked forever, and so you don't have to lock your tokens forever. Basically, you can
So
just use our
you,
file.
it's got your free pass for you to that 2.5.
That's the free pass. Yeah, and it's
Gotcha.
that's going to vary, but it's going to give almost everybody a greater boost than they would have got by themselves. And then on top of that, of course, they're getting the additional tokens from our ecosystem that just aren't available on the Fxck exchange. So that's a pretty big deal. And I think we have sort of a game plan. We've made some alliances. That's I would say that's one of my skills, is getting to know people on chain and finding where the value is and finding where the smart people is. And I've found the smart people, and Yellow Cake and I have made some deals with them. And we're going to make it so the 2Fxck token is hot. So having that be part of the yield you receive to stake an LP pair that doesn't have to have the 2Fxck token in it, can have any tokens that are incentivized pools. And if you stake that LP token, you're going to get some of the 2Fxck token as well as the Fxck token. So I think there's going to be a really big demand for that very, very soon.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. So now I get it. So let's talk about the prime 2Fxck token, which is created from staking the Fxck, right?
The prime 2Fxck token is our liquid wrapper token. So think like kind of like Rocket Pool, right? So it's when people stake their Fxck tokens on the Fxck exchange, it's locked for a year, right? But that gives them that boost, but it also gives them some yield, right? So, people would do it just for the yield, perhaps. Now, the prime 2Fxck token is the receipt for Fxck that gets staked on the 2Fxck, and then it's permanently locked in our protocol. But they get this prime 2Fxck token that represents that they can use to cash in on the yield, not only from the prime Fxck that's staked that would pay on the Fxck exchange as well, but also of course they're going to get the boost along with that, but they'll get they get a portion of the protocol fees. The majority of the protocol fees actually go to the stakers of the prime 2Fxck token. So as our protocol generates fees, it's pushing them towards the people who are staking the prime 2Fxck. And unlike on Fxck, where they'd be locked for a year, with the liquid wrapper prime 2Fxck token, they're not locked. They can stake it, unstake it. They can participate in single-sided staking like that, which is pretty hot, because single-sided staking of something that actually pays is, we know as Hexkins, that's a commodity, right? But there will also be a liquidity pool that will be prime 2Fxck paired against prime Fxck. And the cost to make one prime 2Fxck is always one prime Fxck. So and anybody can do that inside the protocol. They can mint a prime 2Fxck by putting a prime Fxck in, and then it spits out a prime 2Fxck. So that actually creates an arbitrage point. If the price of prime 2Fxck goes up, then people would mint it and then sell it back down, which is great, because it just means there's more Fxck locked in the protocol, which means it has more power. And that's one of the ways the protocol will snowball to have more and more yield boosting power and more vote boosting power over time. So, which we've seen on Ethereum. They start out with, when I was looking at Aura Finance more than a year ago, I think they had around 35% of the voting power on with Balancer, right? Which is huge. There's a lot of money flowing through Balancer, and they've now reached about 65%. So, and that's after about 3.5 years of doing it. I'm happy to say Yellow Cake's recently informed me that on day one, 2Fxck will have 61% of the voting power on the Fxck exchange. So that will translate into yield in multiple ways for people. So we're really excited about that. It's going to change the landscape of how DEXs work on the PulseChain, in my opinion.
Very, very nice. These tools are they're extremely interesting to me, because of now DeFi, the value of DeFi, the yield of DeFi. Purchasing yield generating assets, like basically purchasing a miner off of the exchange, is going to be a much better way moving forward versus the old centralized exchange trading aspect of crypto. People are going to be able to generate yield and mitigate their risk by using these tools. Now you obviously you guys have made it scalable to where you can have greater risk or lower risk. And that's a perfect tool for the ecosystem, because now you don't have to do the roll of the dice where you're trading one coin for another, hoping it's going to go up, or some type of crazy meme deal. Or now you can actually go, okay, well, here's my risk tolerance, here's my time horizon, these are my investment needs and wants and desires. Now I can set up a program based upon my risk tolerance within these systems to actually do what I need to do, or to engage in my plan. You know what I mean?
Totally. And when you look at like the concept of like, okay, like any LPPR, whether it's just a 2 tokens at a 50-50 ratio, you're putting up those tokens and you're using them to earn additional yield. Like the yield, in my opinion, offsets the risk, right? Because the higher your yield is, and it matters what you do with that yield, obviously, right? Like if you throw it away on junk, then you're not reducing your risk. But if you do smart things with the yield that you receive when liquidity farming, you're reducing your risk, because you've effectively taken some profit and either reinvested with it, or compounded it, which is a great concept of, putting it back into the same pool that made you the money in the first place, or somewhere else to make you more money with more yield farming or like activity, or you've taken it out of the system as like actual, fiat currency that you needed to do something else. And because you had that option, you were able to keep bigger bags of the tokens that you like inside the LP pool. Right. So if done properly, yield farming, in my opinion, actually reduces the risk. Now, that doesn't apply equally to all yield farming. There's some fly by night stuff out there. And I want people to be, and we're going to see some crazy APRs in the first couple of days of Fxck. So, I will hold my tongue a bit, but like when you see 20,000% APR on something, and if it seems too good to be true, often that is too good to be true. You should be very careful. If you see the APR reducing by, 100% a minute, and you have to sell those tokens the moment they come into your wallet to be able to break even, like that's sort of a common ploy that we've seen, in previous seasons of cryptocurrency, right? There's been yield seasons where that was the thing. Something new pops up. It pays 10,000% for 7 minutes, and then it's down to 600%. And, one day later it's paying 3%, right? Like, and you're holding a big bag of probably something worthless. So that's, that is not the game that we're playing at all. These are like the Fxck exchange, obviously, which is very established, a fork of Balancer, and with Fxck being a fork of Convex and Aura Finance. Like, these are big things that are meant to hold a lot of money, right? Like millions and millions of dollars, and to be used to yield farm with millions and millions of dollars. So right now, there might be an opportunity early on where the pools are smaller. Maybe the pools are only $100,000. They're paying much, much higher APRs. But given time, especially when we move into the bear market, let's say that's 2 years from now, we'll see that the stable pools get very, very big, and that they'll be paying, not crazy APRs, but maybe they're paying 30%. Maybe you'll be able to ride out the next bear market sitting in stables making 30% APR. That, to me, that'd be a very strong position. So stuff like that, right? It's, that's going to be where people will really, really understand that it's important that the PulseChain has these protocols, because after the next bear market is done, these things, Fxck and Fxck, are still going to be here, and there's going to be a lot of money sitting in them waiting to deploy onto the PulseChain for the next bull market. So I don't think that's anytime soon. I think we got years to go, but this is the future as far as where the money's going to go in the hard times. And in the good times, we have a pretty good opportunity, because these pools are going to be a lot smaller. And when they're smaller, they can pay higher APRs with less financial power being directed towards them. So, and we sort of have some, we have some surprises coming up. We've made some pretty good deals to be able to offer some fantastic liquidity farming options. So I'm very happy, that we're gonna provide this to the PulseChain very soon.
Nice. So let me remind everybody here. So we have these tools that are being brought to us through DeFi protocols that are immutable contracts that are going to provide value and tools for us to utilize, especially smaller players that would like to participate in generating as much yield as possible versus getting sidelined by whales and whatnot. So this is going to be really beneficial to the small user. However, I want to caution everybody this, especially when a protocol first launches. Jeeting in, aping in, getting crazy with them usually results in First of all, bad market sentiment for the projects that are trying to, come in and do something good. Also can hurt the unknown user, the person who just knows enough to get themselves in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So I caution everybody, and Richard cautioned us all when he launched Hex, stay away from cheating in day one, watch things, learn, help the system build and grow and function properly and smartly and efficiently. And that means watching it and doing the right thing. So just like you play poker with a bunch of guys that know what they're doing, and then you stick one guy in the middle of it that doesn't know what he's doing, and he screws the whole game up. So it's about, watching these protocols, learning how they work and learning how they can work for you versus trying to see if this is the next 100X for you. Now, these things are all going to do really well, in my opinion, on PulseChain, because these are protocols that are definitely a necessity out here, especially if the fees and everything on Ethereum are so high, and we don't have these protocols here. So they're definitely necessary, but I caution everyone to just be real careful, watch what you're doing, learn before you get out there, but definitely take a good look at them.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think you hit it right on the head there, Captain, with like JEETs not being a good choice for yield farming. Like yield farming should be approached with a minimum 90-day window to participate. If you're entering into liquidity pools and removing yourself from liquidity pools in the same day, you're going to get wrecked, right? And some guys can do stuff like that if they know what they're doing. If you're one of those guys, that's great. But like most people, like if you're participating in liquidity in general, where you're providing two or more sides with what we're doing of a liquidity pair, you have to understand the concept of impermanent loss, being that like one token will go up faster than the other token, not always, but often, to some degree. And if you pull out at the wrong time, the impermanent loss becomes permanent, right? They call it impermanent loss because eventually these things tend to level out, right? And especially when we have a yield farming component like we do, where you're getting paid in two or more tokens, that can definitely offset your impermanent loss to the point where hopefully you're not experiencing any at all. But to do it in a short time frame, a day, a week, even a month, you're much more likely to experience serious impermanent loss. And the people who go in and out more than once in one day, those guys get wrecked.
And they're usually, and the people that, like you said, that know what they're doing, they're value extractors. They're not really value add or long-term investors trying to make the system work for them and others.
Exactly.
I mean, the reason we have DEXs is so that we can all participate. And to some extent, that takes a little bit of accountability and responsibility of the users to be good actors in the system. We all want the guys who make these exchanges to be good actors. We all want the founders of the cryptocurrencies to be good actors. How about the users? Are you in there trying to extract value, or are you trying to provide, be part of, and get the value that you deserve? And again, there's always a long-term play when it comes to generating good yield.
Definitely. And the users are a huge part of that. And the way that 2Fxck and Fxck are set up, it sort of supports the concept of like root for your team, right? So whatever your team is within the PulseChain community, they have a gauged, which just means an incentivized pool that can get the bonus yield that we're talking about, then you have an option to support your community by what you decide to do with your yield. And that comes down to the voting system that's part of these protocols. So when you participate with 2Fxck and you're getting paid with Fxck and 2Fxck tokens, you're going to end up with an opportunity to stake your 2Fxck tokens and use those to vote, right? It's called locking. You lock them in the system. It's not a permanent lock. It's 16 weeks. And during said 16-week period of time, you're getting yield for doing that. But you're also getting, and single-sided too, which is great, but you're getting the option to vote. And the number of votes you have is based on the amount of votes that the entire protocol has, which is lots, 61% of all of the votes, proportionate to the amount of 2Fxck tokens that you have. So it's going to be substantial, more than most people would be able to achieve by themselves, even if they're not very big. And when they vote, for a particular pool, which obviously is going to be one that they're interested in, they're participating in, they're only voting on one thing, but mostly the only thing that anybody cares about is which pool will pay the most yield in the next cycle. And the cycles are about 7 days apart. So which pool is going to pay the most yield next week? So if you're part of a community, right? Let's say you're part of the Internet Money Time community. Well, there's a pool on there called the Great Time Pool, right? Where it has Pulse and the time token in the pool. Well, if you participated in that, you'd have those two tokens, that LP pair. You'd make that LP, you'd stake it via the 2Fxck front end. You'd get your yield, summon Fxck tokens, summon 2Fxck. You'd stake or lock rather your 2Fxck. And then with your votes, you push them back towards that pool. That will not only give you more yield next time, it will give everyone who's participating in that pool more yield next time. So it's a group activity, right? It's not just me, it's us. And so with that in mind, we can educate the communities to participate and to focus on that sort of thing, then there's going to be a huge benefit to the communities that do that. And we sort of have a short list of the communities who are really, really interested in the protocol. And I think that's kind of a short list of ones to watch, in my opinion, because you know that these founders and the whales and the users in these communities, they want to make sure their community has additional yield options like this, where you don't have to sell the community token in order to achieve that yield, in order to profit, in order to benefit. So it's a huge thing, that voting power, that we have 61% of. That's going to be a big difference to some of these communities, and that's going to be the real value to the users in the long run versus the percentage of yield. It'll be the percentage of votes.
Wow, I really like that. Now I understand that hits me deep, because what I'm seeing happen here on PulseChain is, we always talked about Metcalfe's law, and then now it's kind of a Reed's law taking effect, where we have all these different communities, different tokens, things that are being built on PulseChain. And we all know that the success of these cryptos are based a lot or weighted heavily by their communities that support them. Because they provide basically the marketing, the education, the outreach, all of those things are provided by the community. And if the community has a way to come together, just like Hex did in the beginning, all of us 555 stakers and all that, we created that, we generated that, and it built a community around that. Well, now you guys are given a tool to the community to actually go in and provide yield and provide community support for their tokens on the exchanges, and exactly. Like you said, locking them away, holding them, creating more value for them, and either participating in reboosting the community or putting more value as you generate yield back into the community support, all the while holding your own tokens and generating yield, or some people can use it to do whatever it is, diversify, whatever, but I really like that concept, because that is a way to not only bring communities together just by having Telegram chat rooms and YouTube channels and that kind of stuff, but give them a way to participate in the system other than the token's own tokenomics or whatever. Now you have another way in the liquidity providing space that will educate, provide value, give the community leverage to generating yield. On the liquidity providing platform. I mean, that is great. I really like that.
It's not just number go up anymore, but like the concept of okay, if you could have an APR of over 100% for a community pool, like in my opinion, and it's not financial advice, it's just what I think, but I think that could pull up the price of the token that you're participating with, right? Yeah. So if and it's not just that it pulls up the price of the token because more people want to participate. It gives people a reason not to just look for a number go up and a time to sell. It gives them a reason not to sell. So don't sell, provide liquidity. Why should I provide liquidity? Well, to support the community. Sure, that's fine. But also you get paid a lot. And to me, I think, the bribes are a thing, and that's, part of what we're doing as well. But the concept of people getting paid to provide liquidity and paid well, that is valuable. And I think it'll pull people together if they can actually help each other with the voting mechanism that I talked about, rather than just look to snipe the best APRs just for themselves. When you know what you do with your yield affects not only you, but everybody else in the community, it makes it for a different mindset, right? That we can all win together.
Well, the stronger the communities, the stronger the tokens community, the more voting power, the more valuable it becomes, on the network there. and it would almost be a race to see whose community is driving more attention to it.
Yeah, to be sure.
I dig it.
Definitely.
Hey, did you want to pull? Did you want to pull one of your screens up or something?
Sure, you bet. I'd like to look at just a couple pools here. So just to kind of illustrate what we're talking about, and then I want to show you some else. Oh,
was that it?
Let's hit the other screen.
Let's see. That one doesn't look. Let me see.
There we go. That's it.
There we go.
Okay, but I'm going to take it off that. Okay, so this is the Fxck, the general concept of what it looks like, but we'll look at specific pools. Now, I haven't pulled up here the highest APR paying pools. I've pulled up the pools that I find attached to Hex that pay decent APRs that people will benefit from, right? So I have things like this one. I really like this one. This is all the Maximus DAO tokens. So you basically anywhere from a 15-year Hex stake to a 1-year Hex stake, also paired with Hex, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kinds of Hex paired together. So you can imagine, Captain, how low the impermanent loss is here. This is a big pool. There's more than $500,000 in here. It's paying between 13.5 and 31.73%. Now, the difference between the 13 and the 31, for most people, will be made up by using the 2Fxck front end. So that's sort of the starting point. And then on top of that, they're going to get the additional 2Fxck tokens. But I think, if this Maximus community, for example, focused on this pool, there would be a way to get it up over 100% APR. And you could see how that sort of thing would roll into being a bigger thing. And there's other, this community, has other things like this. So here's with Communist, right? Which is another Hex derivative paired with Hex. Great. 37% potentially. And then I think this is my highest one for today. Here we go. So we have the Maxi token, a 15-year Hex stake, paired with the team token, which is, sorry, we're a little glitchy here, but this is, the current numbers, for up to 85% yield if you use the 2Fxck front end, plus your 2Fxck tokens you're receiving on top, which honestly could be greater than 85% more than that, but that's not a guarantee. We'll have to wait to see tomorrow. But there's, very substantial yield to participate in these liquidity pools that are basically Hex paired with Hex. Even with this one that is Maximus paired with Team. Team's a little more diverse token. I won't get into explaining it because it's a little more complicated, but basically you have Hex paired against Hex, and your impermanent loss, meaning which one is going to go up faster than the other, is going to be pretty minimal, right? On any of these, especially things like this this Maximus Perps one, where it's all the full range, right? They have different values from each other, but they're going to move very closely together to give you a very similar experience. So
and the yield is significant and liquid. So that's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can stake and unstake at any time. This stuff is not locked. So here's another one. This is the 2Fxck front end. This is the Maximus Perps. This is all the Maximus tokens bridged over from Ethereum, right? Now this is my dev front end. So it's not available to the public just yet, but you can get the gist of where we're going here. So we got an APR. Here's the breakdown. We'll look at this one here because this will probably be a longer term number. I don't want people to get stuck on the big number. So 150% APR, mostly coming in from the 2Fxck tokens, but also from the Fxck and the swap fees that you're experiencing to stake Hex against Hex against Hex against Hex, basically in one liquidity pair where you're completely liquid. You can unstake it anytime. You can separate it into the original tokens at any time. And this is another great example. People worry about, oh no, Hex on Ethereum, like the fees. Well, this is Hex on Ethereum bridged to PulseChain in stakes between 1 year and 15 years, paired with liquid Hex from Ethereum again, all on PulseChain with PulseChain fees. You're paying $10 10 cents a transaction to participate with something like this. This is in my opinion, this is a pretty sweet deal to have something like this on the table. And we have more. There's 50 pools to choose from on the Fxck. Many of them feature RH tokens. Many of them will feature things like PulseChain, et cetera, et cetera. But, for today, I'd like to look at, mostly the ones with Hex. So we have, again, here we go. Here's that one that I liked. The Maximus one that has all the PulseChain version of the Maximus DAO tokens that all represent staked Hex. And we have, crazy APRs potentially. So let's look at this 283%. Man, 283% to not stake your hex, but to hold things that represent staked hex, which I think is what's important here. That you are holding staked hex in the Maximus DAO tokens. That's what they represent. So, but man, 283%. That's a game changer for me. What do you think, Captain?
Well, I mean, all of these liquidity pools, especially in the beginning, are valuable yield generating tools. Come with a little more risk than just staking. But like you said, when you're talking about an asset like Hex that is all pulled together, especially staked Hex, you've got a very secure way of generating yield through liquidity. Again, a different type of tool for a different type of situation. Positives and negatives all around for all of these things. Even staking Hex, you lock up your Hex and it's locked. And yes, you generate yield, but then you also generate penalties and other things in your Hex. So there's benefits to Hex, and it's a tool that is specific to the investor for their needs, wants, desires, future plans, just like this is. And this is a way to participate and have things. So there's a lot of people out there that like to have liquid crypto. I know people that had massive bags of Hex, but never wanted to stake it. They never wanted to stake it. They loved Hex. They wanted to hold it, but they did not want to stake it. And this gives people options to keep things liquid and still be able to generate yield and to provide value to the ecosystem, value to those tokens by keeping them locked up and put in places for people to actually utilize and trade them. And another way of getting rid of the centralized exchanges by bringing popularity to DEXs, by bringing value to DEXs, by showing that they can be more liquid than centralized exchanges and bring more value.
Yep. And I think there's always going to be a place for staked Hex because you do have a lower risk with a single-sided staking option, lower contract risk, all those things, right? And I think we're moving away from worrying about all those details as much as we used to. But like it's still imperative that people understand that single-sided staking Hex is in many ways the safest option and the option that could save you from yourself. With this stuff, you're completely liquid. So it means you can unstake it and you can unravel your LP and you can sell the bits whenever you wanted. So that's both an advantage and a disadvantage. Know yourself, make a good choice accordingly, right?
Yeah. And again, it's part of your portfolio risk. There's, when you sit down with a financial advisor in the TradFi world, they're going to talk to you about different options, and your age, your time frame, your risk tolerance, all that stuff, and build products that are based on what you need, want, or desire for your future plans. Same here. That's what these things are for, to have different tools available to the crypto user that come to us in a decentralized fashion too. We're interacting with contract. We're not giving our coins over to somebody that can do the things that the centralized exchanges are doing. And more and more, that's what DeFi is going to be about, is us having the ability to utilize really innovational financial tools that the world has never seen before. Like these things are so cutting edge that people don't realize what's really being created here. They look at them and go, "Oh, it's just a shell game. You're creating a shell game." No, they're finding ways to take the positive externalities that exist in the whole world of finance forever from the beginning of time and trying to condense them down into single protocols that can take all those positive externalities and deliver that to the end user. That's what these protocols are doing. And I'm really excited about this stuff.
Oh yeah. And these are financial tools. Like they're financial tools that have similar things that exist in traditional finance. They're just not available to you and I, right? Like we don't get access to the top end financial tools until you start moving in the millions and billions of fiat currency. It's gate kept, right? So
yeah, because these things are almost like the Fxck pools are almost like spiders in the trading world, right? I mean, I think they have things called spiders that have multiple assets, or even like Berkshire Hathaway, is it has a bunch of assets in it that keep it, doing what it does. But there's all kinds of different, but on top of it, market sentiment and regulatory things are actually built into these cryptos too. I mean, really cool stuff that the TradFi world really can't give to the regular user. Like you said, we aren't privy to those things, and even people in the stock market aren't privy to all these things that we have at our fingertips.
Oh
now.
yeah,
like
those guys are going to be coming to us to learn soon enough, and I think you can see that there's starting to be some crossover where you can tell guys are pros when they're coming into the system from the way they talk. That guys like like Somi, we all know Somi, like he claims to have a trading background, and from the way he talks, I believe he does, like a professional regular finance trading background. But clearly this is his focus now. And why is it his focus? It's because there's things like this where, here's a pool that could pay 465% APR. To have that in traditional finance is not a thing right now. So, we have like an edge on those guys, and especially with the PulseChain, with how low the fees are. Like on Ethereum, I have 50 pools here I could show you. On Ethereum, like if you only had $100 to put into a pool and you were paying $40 to put it in and $40 to put it out, well, you're not going to be doing that too many times. But on here, like you could have $10 in 50 pools. You paid 10, 20 cents each time you added something to the pool. And then you could top up the best ones every week with the yield that you made from participating. Like on our claim page, we'll have a claim all button if you're in many things. Claim from all 50 pools. And then which one paid me the best last week? Okay, that's where my yield goes, right? There's so many games we can play because the PulseChain is so efficient, so fast, and so inexpensive to perform transactions while still being secure that like there's an edge that it would take you a lifetime to get in the traditional finance system and years of trading. Now, I'm not saying people shouldn't educate themselves, like, DYOR, BYOB, all that stuff, but this is available for you and you can learn about it. We'll teach you, if you come to us, come to our Telegram room. This is, longer discussions here. Obviously, we have already hundreds of hours of videos and there's going to be many, many more. It is available. So yeah, come check it out, people.
Right on. All right, my man. Well, any last words you want to put out there before we call it a night?
You bet. I want to give out some quick alpha here. We've made a deal, not a deal, an alliance, okay, that we're working with the guys from the Solid Index. So that's the Axis, Fire, Nope, and Solid X tokens. We're now part of the 2 Solid Index pool that will be premiering on the Fxck exchange very, very soon. That's going to be their gauge pool, their only gauge pool to start on the Fxck exchange, where all these tokens are paired together with the 2 Fxck token. So, and this is the breakdown right here. Is that coming up okay?
Yep.
Okay. So this will be the 2 Solid pool. So it's going to be 15% of each of the Solid Index tokens. So Axis, Fire, Solid X, and Nope, paired with 7% Pulse and 33% of the 2 Fxck token. So that was the formula that Axis and Yellow Cake came up with. We locked them in a room together for a while, and it was not the result I was expecting. I thought it would be more Solid X because that's the biggest of these tokens in terms of total liquidity. But the concept is that since 2 Fxck is part of the yield that you're getting, if you make it a large component of the pool and people need it to participate, it's going to mean that your APR is going to be much higher because you have this token that is required to participate in the pool. So, because of that, I think this is just one of the things we're doing. But like this arrangement with these guys is going to really help pump the APRs for 2 Fxck, not just for this liquidity pool, but for all the other ones that we just looked at, Captain, because they're all going to pay you out partially in the 2 Fxck token if you use the 2 Fxck front end. So that's going to be a huge deal from us. And we're going to end up having a much larger amount of liquidity than we likely would have had very early on, because we're participating with 4 great communities that are like, very strong communities. They all have a lot of members. They all have diamond hands and, some really good, solid founders that are supporting them. So we have, Axis obviously is from Axis Alive. He's well known in the community for his TA and all his other skills. Crispy Man, from Hexfire, like that's his token, the Fire token. So then the Fire Whale, Solid X is his thing. And of course, Randy Hilarski, Nope token is a huge community that's been very supportive to us in our entire journey. So really happy to announce that we're partnering with these guys for the first liquidity pool for Fxck, and it'll be the first gauge pool for the solid index tokens on the Fxck exchange. Excuse me.
Right on.
So pumped about that. And I got a little demo video. We could play that.
Oh yeah, let's play the demo video.
Here, I'm just gonna stop sharing that, and then yeah, if we could queue up that one. Let's start.
Nice.
That's pretty cool,
off Crispy and Axis, all the fellas over there. Those are all my buddies. Good job on what they've done, and of course Randy. All good guys. All real.
Yeah,
good
we're
guys.
super stoked to be working with those guys.
Right on. All right, my man. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you explaining this. I've learned a lot. Everybody out there, DeFi tools are here, and you need to learn and understand these things and how they work. And like I said, and also do your due diligence. Be careful, because even though I don't think that there's any wrongdoing going on here, I think that these things can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, and you could wreck yourself or lose. And what happens with that is sometimes when somebody does go in and lose, they get sour grapes, and then they end up fudding a project that doesn't deserve to have FUD. So know what you're doing before you get in there, and be
talk
accountable.
to us first. If you don't understand what we're talking about, come talk to us before you participate in any way.
And get in their Telegram rooms. They are launching tomorrow. Check out what they got going on. Watch for their launch, and we'll have all the links to everything here in the description. SJ will put those in. Right on, Fast Abdul. Thanks. I appreciate you, my bro.
Thank you, Captain. Good talking to you.
All right, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Wednesday. We have, what did I forget already? I just announced it too. You got it in there, SJ? Okay. Boo. Wait a minute. Did you put it in the private chat? No. Are we doing a makeup stream on Wednesday? You just told me what we were doing on Wednesday. Now I'm forgetting.
I'm trying to message you, and you're not looking at the right thing.
Oh, well, I thought you were going to put it in the private chat.
Oh my God.
All right.
Got it?
All right, everybody.
It's
you're not
the musical stream. We're hosting several musicians.
Oh, I said I didn't even know that. That's on Wednesday.
So yeah, Okeechobee, Drix.
That's right, Okeechobee. He did a rap in was Chicago, right? Were we in Chicago?
Yeah, Drix and Corey and an investor. All three of them will be on.
Oh, Corey's my bro. Corey is my bro. All right, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday for the musical stream. I'm gonna have to play some rock and roll. All right, guys. We'll see you. See you on Wednesday. Don't forget Friday night hang on Friday. And go to PulseChainTour.com. Come to London with us. Come hang out. We're gonna have a good time. We'll see you. Why is Hex better than Bitcoin? Well, first of all, it's the fundamentals of the code. The fundamentals of the code are better than Bitcoin's fundamentals. The inflation model is better than Bitcoin's inflation model. The staking feature is better than a mining feature. It's new tech versus old tech. It's decentralized versus centralized. Yes, all of those things